Good morning, guys. So my name is Carolina Camacho. So this is my senior lecture, and this is the picture of Gaia because I really think that she have an MD after all these years of like hearing me talking about medical terms. So I want to start this presentation first talking about very important people in my life. This is the last Wednesday of conference for us, so I think that is a good moment to say thank you to all of them. First of all, I want to start with my family, especially my nephew. I want to dedicate all these years of effort to him. He's my love, my fuel, my inspiration every day, and everything that I do is to make him proud. Also my family, my best friend, that is also, her name is Carolina, which is really weird. They're crazy, but they support me all the time. I really love them, and I'm so grateful for them. I also want to take another moment to say thank you to my near family, especially someone that is really important in my life. So thank you, Naomi, for being my friend, my family, my sister here, Gaia's mom, my best dancing partner, taking care of me when I needed the most. You're fundamental in my life. When you came to residency, we became louder and prouder together. I'm grateful with life for making us cross paths. I love you, girl. Also, I want to say thank you to all my mentors, especially Pamela, Jane Kim, Dr. Smith, and Kendall. Thank you for dealing with me for the last 4 years. I know it was hard. And another, you look great there, yeah. Another important person that I want to, take a moment to say thank you is Stephanie. Thank you for being my mother during residency. Every time that I send you an email, I remember the answer is Carolina. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for everything. Also, I want to say thank you to my class, my dysfunctional family, that getting together in the last 4 years was a challenge. We always struggle with that, but I always knew that they're always here. And that is Fabian. Thank you for being my family here and for like going through all this together. I know that if I need you guys, you're always gonna be there. Donna. I tried to find weird pictures of Guru, but I failed. I don't know how, but yeah, I don't know. Thank you guys, we made it, finally. Thank you to all my Kings County family. You're the reason that I'm staying here. You guys are amazing. And I wanna share a few like words with you, especially now after 4 years of kind of like, I'm not gonna say master in residency, but learning a lot during all these years. So my advice to you is like taking time to do the things that you love, especially the PUI ones and PUI twos. You know, the beginning of PUI 3 is a hard moment. So take care of you, put yourself always first. Don't be afraid of showing your patients affection and emotions, because in the worst day of their life, you are there with them. They will not remember your name. Maybe they will never remember your face, but they always will remember the way that you made them feel that day. You have to be okay with being the anonymous hero. Take time to talk to them. The Susa always told me that for the last 4 years, like, Carolina, you need to be more at bedside, hear the concerns of patients. Finally, I learned that, so I'm gonna pass that advice to you guys. And consider changing your working philosophy from multitasking to goal-oriented. Focus on completing relevant tasks in order to achieve plan objective for the day. And please don't eat Oreo for breakfast every day. That is unhealthy, Christina. This is life. Fall in love, dance, drink the best drinks. Don't schedule anything for after residency. Live your best life. I take every day as a step to be a better doctor, a better person, a friend, partner. Will be days are better than other ones, but don't quit. It's worth it, and you're needed here. And please adopt a dog. This is the best thing that you can do for your soul. So without further ado, I'm gonna introduce my lecture. So for years, we women have kept our heads down and play by the rules. We have been certain that with enough hard work, our natural talents will be recognized and rewarded. And one of the reasons of this is the constant lack of confidence. because also we are afraid of failure. So this is the subject of my senior lecture is be brave, not perfect. Failure has a female. I want to introduce failure today with a different definition, as a new concept. I want to introduce failure that can be reframed as a first attempt in learning. Failure is a stepstone to success. Failure at least has an important role in our experience, education, and professional development. Has success if we only are willing to learn from it. Contemporary society shares success every day. Success defines the person, the organization, the culture. It is the clear goal for every initiative that has an outcome. The commonly held view is that failure is to avoid because success is to be achieved. Failure is simply the opposite of success, a notion that sets the stage for the role of failure and its interpretation through one's life. This is particularly true for physicians and scientists who, as a consummate overachievers, strive to succeed and implicitly strive to avoid failure with each challenge. Nothing but perfection will suffice, as failure renders our professional efforts, view of accomplishments and sense of ourselves imperfect. While encouragement is clearly important in early education and constructive positive criticism essential for optimizing the learning experience, there comes a time in each person's development at which clear criticism and the risk of true failure need to be conveyed. The complexity of life, biologically and experientially, is uncertain, and in the course of this execution, rich with the possibility of failure to meet an aspiration or achieve a goal. As parents, educators, and role models, we are not meeting our obligations to trainees unless we entrust them the importance of failure and how to learn from it and how to react. And most importantly, deal with it. Failure is imperative for developing the tenacity and self-control necessary to interact effectively with our complex environment. It's actually the true secret to success. Failure is, of course, part of the scientific method. All well-designed experiments are framed in terms of no hypothesis, which more often turns out to be not true. Exploring the basis of biological phenomena or diseases require the same approach and has the same low yield of positive results. So why we're so afraid of failure? Failure in clinical medicine is particularly troublesome to trainees and practitioners. As medical students, residents, and fellows and attendees, we continue to aim for perfection in our educational experience, viewing failure as a personal shortcoming. Bias entering into our scientific mindset in this realm, as well by clinical framing a case within the context of diagnosis with which we are familiar. We are forever attempting to force square pegs in round holes, rather than focusing on the future of a clinical case that do not fit the mold. We do so to gain comfort in our uncertain landscape, avoiding failure and perceived inadequacy in the process. Yet as clinicians, we worry that we have not made the best decision for our patients, concerned that we may have missed a diagnosis, misread a laboratory result, or chosen a therapeutic strategy that was suboptimal or worse, incorrect. None of us wish to be perceived as the physician who failed to the patient. Failure is whoever a great teacher, especially in clinical medicine. I can clearly remember many of the clinical mistakes that I have made, learning from each other. Clinical successes are far less memorable to me and far less instructive. Particularly women take failure really, really harsh, describing it as disgusting, as a wave of the worst thing ever. For more inspiration, I want to continue my senior lecture mentioning few successful females and how they react to failure and their opinion about it. What is going on?
Oh, it's just a failure.
So first of all, I want to say Arianna Huffington, she failed first as an author and also as a politician. Her book was rejected many times, and then she failed to get more than 0.55% of the vote when she ran for California governor in 2003. Today, she's the founder of the Huffington Post, one of the biggest news websites in the world. and out of dozen books. She recalled her mother telling her as a teenager that failure is not the opposite of success, it's a stepping stone to success. She always remembered her mother's advice, and she say, I think that she would really enjoy how many times I had let myself fail along the way. Another is Ellen. She said that I was fired for being gay, and I know what it feels like. I lost everything. But look at me now. I could buy the governor's mansion, flip it, and make it a 7 million profit. There's already so much inequality in the world. Women's rights, gender pay gap, racism. I think that we have to remember that we are more similar than we are different. Oprah, she also said that at some point you're bound to stumble. If you're constantly pushing yourself higher and higher, the law of average predicts that you will at some point fail. And when you do that, I want you to remember this. There's no such a thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, she said, just roll with it. Just roll with it. Adding, I'm like, guess what? I made a mistake, deal with it. I'm trying, you're not. Also, another example is Serena Williams. She won 23 Grand Slams single titles. And then in 2018, she lost the USA Open against a newcomer. And she said, I really think a championship is defined not by their wins, just by how they can recover when they fail. I have fallen several times. Each time is just get up and dust myself off. And I pray that I'm able to do better or I'm able to get back to the level I want to be on. Another example is Vera Wang. She tried to go to the Olympics. She was an ice skater, and then she fell. And after that, she just got a job in Yves Saint Laurent, and now she's a millionaire. Good for her. So I want to also share one of our. First of all, I want to say that I sent a question to our group of female groups, and I feel that I have just very few answers that I figured out that it's hard to share stories of failure, so I'm pretty grateful for this one. This is anonymous. One of our female physicians have overcome a learning disability in the face of adversity, doubt from her family and also in the professional setting. And she said, I have a very severe learning disability known as dyslexia, which now is not a big deal. But when I was in grade school, it was unknown. And they just thought I was stupid. The only reason I was in regular school is that my mother would not let me move. They don't let me move me. I could not read or write until I was 12 years old. In the meantime, I learned verbal skills and a good, great audio memory. All of my siblings and friends were in the advanced class, I was not. This totally affected everything in my life and still does. I have a very strong hold of my idea of what I could not do. I registered an IQ 60 to 80. I think that my parents never let me actually see the score. Having people help me writing in college and also a big class where I did not have to write. Not doing science or math because I literally could not tell the difference between some numbers and letters. I come from a very high achieving and brilliant family. I had support and a therapist who did not believe any of the things I believe about myself. I started prepping pre-med classes and this just okay. My first MCAT score were not good enough to make for my science grade. I kept at it and I cannot tell you why. I started meditating. I decided the only way to thrive was to love everything I studied. I realized how much I could achieve in just 2 hours if I concentrate. I took the MCAT again and then I was accepted in medical school. I did it. I never failed another exam again. I now have to say that I'm good at tests based on the evidence. And then, I'm not quite successful at any of them, but I want to also bring my example. I have failed many times in relationship, as a friend, at taking good decisions, in part of my education, as a daughter, sister, aunt, as a partner, at keeping my anger under control, as a doctor, at keeping anxiety at bay, at loving people. But the most important thing is at loving myself countlessly, consistently. And this is not the end of the list. Is hardly the beginning. During all this couple of years, I worked really hard on myself. Before residency, there was a lot of depression, toxic behaviors and all other things that I was blaming my family, the past. Until I decided that my past doesn't define me anymore. I pick up my pieces, learn from them, look for help, and decide to love myself every day more, consistently, deeply. And this is my new style of life. So girls respond to failure differently than boys. When girls make mistakes, they're more likely to interpret the setback as a sign that they lack the ability, a factor much harder for girls to change. Boys, on the other hand, tend to attribute failure to more controllable circumstances. The phenomenon has been traced in part to how teachers talk to students. In observational studies, teachers correct girls for mistakes related to ability, while boys tend to get more behavioral interventions. Other studies have found that girls are more likely to give up in the face of stressful academic situations. In one study, fifth grade students were given a task that was intentionally confusing. It was the girls who were derailed by the confusion, unable to learn the material. Notably, the highest IQ girls struggled the most. The phenomenon continued in college, where Harvard economist Claudia Goldin found it was women dropping out of intro to economics when they failed to get A's. Women are always trying to be perfect. Rescuing girls from failure make them lose motivation even more than boys. Girls are more vulnerable to having their autonomy and motivation threatened because girls are raised to please others. They tend to care more about feedback and opinions from teachers, parents, friends, everyone, and so more sensitive to feeling control. When we believe others are interfering with our autonomy by trying to control our performance, say by offering rewards, threatening punishment, or offering certain kind of praise, our motivations stop. One of the reasons is because we have a lot of stereotype threat, which is a situational predicament in which people are or feel themselves to be at risk of conforming to the stereotype about their social group. It is probably a contributing factor to long-standing racial and gender gaps in academic performance. A stereotype threat makes failure more bruising for girls. It works like this. When girls buy into the stereotype that they're bad at math, they don't see a missed problem or a poor grade as a corrective issue. Instead, it confirms what everyone else knows, that they simply have less ability. This experience adds stress and self-doubt to girls' educational experience and diminish their sense of belonging to the academic arena. Girls lose confidence, so they quit their buying, depriving themselves of one of the best ways to regain it. That is just trying again. Victoria Bresco, a social psychologist at Yale School of Management who studies gender stereotype, was curious of how people evaluate women who make mistakes in traditional male occupations. She and her colleagues gave participants a fictional news stories about a police chief in a major city preparing for a big protest rally. Sounds pretty similar to what you're doing right now. Several hours in, the protest got out of hand and the chief dispatched squad cars. In one version of the story, the chief didn't send enough officers and 25 people were seriously injured. Didn't matter where the police chief who made the bad call was a male or a female, it did. When a male police chief found himself with 25 injured civilians, his rating as an effective chief dropped roughly by 10%. When a female police chief made the same mistake, her ratings dropped by almost 30%. Participants reading the story also wanted to demote her, but their counterparts did not want to demote him. Both leaders made a risky decision that backfired, but it cost more to her. It's a persistent pattern. A decision that backfired led to harsher scrutiny for female leaders than for men. And how big is the men territory? It's huge. Finance, law, sport, the military, the stock market is all controlled by males. They are all occupations where men dominate, and all professions in which naturally mistakes get made. When women mistakes are judged so much harshly than men, is any wonder that female manager may be labeled as micromanager or perfectionist or risk averse. Seeking to reduce mistakes at all costs is a logical reaction to others' biases perception. Until we associate women with leadership roles, mistakes will remain much more costly for women. In the American context, most publicly recognized leaders belong to dominant groups in terms of both race and gender. White people in the case of race and men in the case of gender. This perception leads to unconscious assumption that white men are the typical and effective leader. Previous research has established that white female leaders are evaluated more negatively than white male leaders. Similarly, Black leaders are evaluated more negatively than white leaders who perform equally well. Since Black women are members of the two marginalized groups, Black and female, they might experience a greater discrimination. It's a double jeopardy compared to the discrimination faced by individuals that hold one marginalized identity, or a white woman or a Black man. Black women leaders may be unfairly judged as ineffective when organizations perform poorly. This is due in part to perception of Black female as atypical leaders. The evidence also suggests that even though white women and Black male also receive lower evaluations than white men, they also benefit somewhat from the dominant aspect of their identities that are congruent with the typical leadership role, that is being a male, white male, or just a male. One of the reasons is the imposter syndrome that females actually suffer. It's a mixture of anxiety and persistent inability to recognize our own success. This can be crippling, destroying the careers and life of most of these chronic sufferers. It was identified in 1978, and they believe that was only affected females, but subsequent research has shown that actually also men also are affected. However, women tend to be more susceptible to it. And in the International Journal of Medical Education study, 49% of female medical students experience imposter syndrome, in contrast to 24% of male medical students. Imposter syndrome was also associated with characteristics of burnout, such as cynicism, emotional exhaustion, and depersonalization. Minority undergraduate and medical trainees, and even minority faculties experience this syndrome pretty bad. And Emma Watson says, almost like the better I do, the more my feeling of inadequacy actually increase, because I'm just going. At any moment, someone is going to find out that I'm a total fraud and I don't deserve any of what I achieve. I don't know about you, but I feel like that a lot. So there's like 5 types of imposter syndrome. One of them is being perfect. You also just set very extremely high expectations for yourself. Even if you meet 99% of their goal, you're feeling that you're a failure. And then the other one is the expert, that this person like read everything about it and they know everything about the subject, but they're never going to apply to a job until they meet all the criteria in the position and they know everything about it. There's also the natural genius, that they always think that they're good enough, and despite having all the skills. Also is the solace, that feel that you have to accomplish something by yourself. You never ask for help. And also the other one is the superwoman, that push themselves to work harder than those around them to prove that they're not imposters. And they have the need to succeed in every aspect of their life, like at work, as a parent, as a partner, everything. So how we overcome imposter syndrome? So you should celebrate all the small wins, no matter how big they are or small they are. Find small stepping stones where you have succeed, where you have success, and recognize the win for yourself. Create a support team, a support group of mentors and peers who can encourage you and recognize when you're cutting yourself down, can help you to put things a little bit into perspective. Talk back to your negative thoughts. Talk back to your negative self and stop that. No more negative thoughts. Build a collection of positive memories and mementos. Remember the good things that you did. Ask questions. Imposter syndrome is connected with perfectionism. Feeling the pressure to know everything can manifest feelings of anxiety and self-doubt when physicians can live up to the high bar they set to themselves. You need to be able to say that you don't know something and please ask a question. And how you can also prevent imposter syndrome: establish your personal and professional identity. Know who are you. Check your expectations and also commit to a wellness plan. Doesn't matter how big or, wellness is not going to the gym or something. Just do whatever make you happy in the moment that make you happy. And I want to tell you to all you girls that are here that, hey, you're not a fraud. My dear colleague, you're not a fraud. You're a flawed and unique human being with excellent training and admirable sense of purpose. Your training and sense of purpose will serve you well. Your humanity will serve your patients even better. Another thing that we suffer a lot is lack of confidence. There's a particularly, this is a particular, I'm sorry. This is a particular crisis for women and a vast confidence gap that separates the two sexes. Compared with men, women don't consider themselves as ready for promotion. They predict that they will do worse on tests, and they generally underestimate their abilities. These disparities stem from the fact ranging from upbringing to biology. Men always initiate salary negotiation 4 times as often as women do. And when women do negotiate, they ask for 30% less money than men do. Women feel confident only when they're perfect, or as I told you, practically perfect. Do men doubt themselves sometimes? Of course, but they don't let their doubts stop them as often as women do. If anything, men feel toward overconfident. They're not consciously trying to fool anyone. It's honest overconfidence. Women apply for a promotion if they're completely ready. Men apply when they have only met 50% of the criteria for the promotion. For decades, women have misunderstood an important law of the professional jungle. It is not enough to keep one's head down and plug away, checking item of the list. Having talent is not merely about being competent. Confidence is a part of that talent. You have to excel at it. Yes, women suffer consequence for their lack of confidence, but when they do behave assertively, they may suffer a whole other set of consequences, ones that men don't typically experience. Attitudes toward women are changing, and for the better, but a host of troubling research shows that they can still pay a heavier social and even professional penalty than men do for acting in a way that seems as aggressive. If a woman walks into her boss office with unsolicited opinions, speak up at first at meetings, or give business advice above her pay grade, she risks being disliked or even, let's be blunt, being labeled as a bitch. The more a woman succeeds, the worse the betrayal seems to get. It's not just her competence that is called into questions, it's her character. But has our understanding of this elusive quality shift, we began to see the outlines of a remedy. Confidence is not, as we once believed, just feeling good about yourself. It is the factor that turns thoughts into judgment about what we are capable of, and that then transform those judgments into action. Confidence is a belief in one's ability to succeed, a belief that stimulates action. In turn, take action bolster one's belief in one's ability to succeed. So confidence accumulates through hard work, through success, and even through failure. To become more confident, women need to stop thinking so much, and just act and try. Perfectionism is another confidence killer. Study after study confirm that it's largely a female issue, one that stems through women's entire life. We don't answer questions until we're totally sure of the answer. We don't submit a report until we edit it multiple times. We don't sign up for that triathlon unless we know that we're faster and fitter than is required. We watch our male colleagues take risks while we hold back until we're sure that we are perfectly ready and perfectly qualified. We fixate on our performance at home, at school, at work, at yoga class, even on vacation. We obsess as everything. Mother, wife, sisters, friends, has cook, have at least. The first thing women should understand is that there's no such a thing as perfection, and that imperfection is far more fascinating and interesting than the model of a Wonder Woman that everyone pictured for us, who can do anything and never make a mistake. Making mistakes, delegating, being imperfect, this should be our new mantra. How we can learn from failure. So every time that you have a failure, you should reevaluate again your planning, how much time you actually give to this task. And also if you anticipate any problems, and next time that you try again, just try to have everything on the table and have plan A, plan B, and plan C. Reevaluate your preparation. Also reevaluate your execution. If your effort was consistent, if you actually try enough. Focus on the variables that you can control. Failure can make us feel passive and helpless and lead us to believe that we'll never succeed no matter what we do or try. Please don't play the blame game. Failure and fault are virtually inseparable in most households, organizations, and cultures. Every child learned at some point that admitting failure means taking the blame. A culture that makes it safe to admit that you fail is extremely important. And only good leaders can create and reinforce a culture that counteracts the blame game and makes people feel both comfortable and with and responsible for surfacing and learning from failures. So be a leader and put that into practice. Another thing that you can do is develop a growth mindset. Thrive on challenge and see failure not as a evidence of unintelligence, but as a hardening springboard for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. A person with growth mindset believes that we can develop skills and strengths through continuous efforts and grow with our life experience. Successful women adopt a growth mindset, which means they're in continuous state of self-improvement. They don't sit back and just enjoy the talents of skills that they have accumulated up to a certain point in their life. Quite the opposite. They're curious to learn more, get better, improve their skills, and acquire new ones that will help them on the road to success. So failure gives us a new opportunity to see our existence close up. It is a lens through which we begin to see the flaws in our otherwise perfect and perfectly predictable being. When failure give us this insight, it emphasizes for us the essential threat that constantly stalk our life, giving us a pause to consider how extraordinary life is. For this reason, failure can be therapeutic, forcing us to realize that the world doesn't revolve around us, guarding our unbreakable arrogance, offering the comfort of humility, and also celebrate every failure. In fact, we should exhort our students, trainees, etc., to be alert to failure and its potential as a learning experience rather than go against it at all costs. We cannot avoid failure. And if we view it through the constructive lens of self-improvement, we need not to caution its blow to self-esteem. The only real mistake one can make is the one which you never learn from it. And so this is the way that I live my life now. And I try to every morning repeat to myself, and when I have, a lot of issues in life, that happens a lot just because it's life. So I say to myself, like, be comfortable with being perfect. Become mindful of your own self-talk and argue back. Enjoy the road. It's also important as the destination. Don't identify others as perfect and praise their efforts. If you fail, forgive yourself, learn from it, pick yourself up, and try again. Work on yourself and your own confidence. You are courageous, you're capable, and please don't be apologetic of your own decisions, opinions, and the life that you choose for yourself. And that is all.